All right, ask me all your bullshit.
What is the stupidest thing that ever happened on a shoot?
Stupidest thing that's ever happened on a shoot. Fuck. It's a lot of stupid shit. Oh, duh. Oh, you fucker. I know where you're going with this. All right. For some reason, I'm thinking like superficial shit, and then all of a sudden I was like, duh. All right, so the stupidest thing that's ever happened on a shoot was Jamaica last year, and everybody had been talking about so that was a Paradise Challenge where you get to stay a week. We hang out with like 160 models and like 60 photographers, whatever. So good networking opportunity there. But it was like midway through the week, and I kept hearing out everybody was like waking up at like fucking 5:30 in the morning and 6 o'clock, and how fucking good the light was and all this shit. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. I'll wake up 6 o'clock. So I was like, okay. I spent the like one evening looking at where the sun was gonna come up at. I knew it was gonna come up over there, and I was like, okay, what can I work with that? On the second story, so like you have your rooms, you have double-decker rooms, and then on the second floor there was like a railing, and I was like, how dope would it be if like your model was just like leaning over the railing and the hair was falling and the light was coming in through the back, and it was this beautiful backlit scene and all this shit. And really thought out that shot, and sure as shit, woke up 5:30 in the morning. I already had a model ready for me, and then my buddy Ben, I actually tested him out on the shot first. I was like, he was hungover from the last night, so he actually kind of looked like that cocaine hangover vibe that JC talks about all the time. So he was looking really raggedy. And anyway, he has long hair too, so I was like, bro, lean over the thing real quick, let me get a shot. And so in that moment, I took my camera, held it over the rail, and I took that shot. Turned out to be fucking great, is exactly what I wanted. And then, the model showed up, and we did a shoot on the bottom floor, and I was like, okay, let's go take this one shot I've been really kind of looking forward to. And sure enough, we get up there, put her in the same spot I had Ben, and then I sat up on the rail, and the railing had a wood panel that I sat on and another wood panel below it. So I hooked my foot into the bottom one. I'm sitting on the top one. Again, second story of this fucking thing. I don't know how many meters it would be, but I'd say probably 20, 25 feet in the air maybe. And I thought I was going to get the creative angle, and so I was sitting on this thing, I lean over the side, I'm taking some photos, and I'd probably say maybe 15 photos in, I went to adjust my butt, and I unhooked my foot, and so now I'm balancing on the edge of the thing, and I just fall all the way down. And as I'm falling, the craziest part about that, so yes, I fell from 2 stories right onto my fucking hip. And I remember all kinds of things as I was falling. I remember, there goes my camera, brand new camera. It only had like 3 months. I'm like, okay, well there goes that thing, fuck. And then second off, I'm really gonna get hurt because this is a long time. I'm like thinking all this as I'm down, like I'm really gonna get hurt. And then I remember hearing the model scream really loud. And then I remember distinctly she had enough time as I was falling to take another deep breath and then scream again before I hit the fucking ground. And so, yeah, I fucking hit the ground. And I'm like, oh shit. And the first thing I do, I get up, I'm like checking my head, and because like I don't know if you ever hit anything really hard, but it's like a shock. It's like a and you're just like, it's like a shock of your body. And then so I'm checking my head. My head doesn't hurt. I don't know what's going on, but I jump right back up. And I'm just standing there like, damage assessment. How am I fucked up? I'm sure I'm fucked up. Doesn't hurt. She looks at me and she goes, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I think so. Fuck, I don't know." And I go, "My camera's up there?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I guess when I fell, I went like this and dropped the camera up there. So my first priority was like, "Thank God my camera's good." And then like my filter had fallen off and it was on the ground, so I picked up my filter, and then I just was baffled that nothing fucking killed me. So I walked right back up to the top, screwed my filter on, looked at my camera. Camera had a bunch of arrows on the back of it. That was immediately like, oh God. And then took the battery out, put the battery back in, flipped on the camera, error. I was like, okay, it's toast for sure. And then I realized that both of my memory cards had popped out when I fell. And so put the memory cards back in, left the batteries out for like a minute or two, calmed down the model first and foremost because she was like out of model mode. She was like, she thought I died. She then couldn't figure out why I was even still standing, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what happened. I seem to be fine. Let's go. And so I actually finished the shoot, ironically enough. And then yeah, I kind of just carried on throughout the day and started posting on my story. And that's when I even she goes and I go, I don't know, my hip hurts a little bit. That's pretty much it. And then yeah, that's when throughout the day, like probably 4 hours after that, I had a little lump right there on the side, like a nice little bitty lump there. And I remember posting about that on my story. I was like, if this is a bad thing, if anybody knows anything about medical help, you know, and do what I need to do. So I left it be. By the end of the night, I had a bigger black spot there. It was about this big. And then by the next day, it had grown to this thing and it puffed out here. And if you're curious of what that feels like, take like a fanny pack full of water maybe, or like put a water balloon in a fanny pack and then shift it right here. And that's what I had, like this fucking fanny pack on it. And yeah, it was fucking weird because it didn't even hurt. It was just this nasty thing. And then over the week, it got to be this big, gigantic thing. Sure, I'm gonna have to overlay some photos of this now, but yeah, that was the silliest fucking thing that I've ever done. And it was so silly, in fact, that like the shot I took of Ben earlier, where I just popped my camera over the rail and took it, better than the actual shot itself. Way better. I could have just fucking left it at Ben's and called it good, and it would have been fine. And yeah, sure enough. And so like everybody was making fun of me a little bit and making sure I was okay. I had a little panic attack because I was like, you know, I have now at this, when I left Jamaica, this thing would spread all the way. And in fact, I hit so hard that even this side was bruised too. It had a big purple bruise and black on one side, and I didn't even land on this side at all. So anyway, yeah, ended up being fine. Talked to a physical therapist. She's like, if you landed on your hip, you wouldn't have a hip right now. So that's what she said.
So you didn't land on your hip?
I guess not. I mean,
You fell in bushes, or was it like
I fell on the grass, and luckily it was soft enough, and I left a dent, like a salad bowl dent in the ground. You could put your foot in it. So she said I didn't land on my hip. My hip had to have made a dent. I don't know. But yeah, sure enough. And then I documented the process on my story, people, you know, whatever. And then it went away, and I was fine. But I think that was just because I was like probably the fittest I'd ever been in my life. And so, and I also made a joke about like I've been drinking a shit ton of chocolate milk. Like I would drink a liter of chocolate milk like a night for every day, no bullshit. Because I was like protein, I love sweet shit, you know. So chocolate milk was my shit, and I was working out enough that it didn't like affect me and make me fat or anything. So yeah, so I was like chocolate milk and CrossFit saved my fucking life, man. I'm sure of it. Yeah. And then the small caveat on the end of that about how I'm hitting my head, and I couldn't figure it out because a couple days afterwards, all this from like here to here was just, it felt like somebody took a baseball bat and just smashed me on it. And I couldn't figure out where that was coming from until I realized that, you know, I even did the test. I laid on the ground and I was like, can I even touch my head on the ground? And as soon as I did that, I'm like, oh, it's pulling really hard right there. And no, I couldn't. My head's always like an inch off the ground. So I think that like all of my neck muscles and back muscles like caught my head and stopped it from smashing into the ground. So I don't know what kind of angel or devil or whatever it was that saved my ass that day or what it was, but I mean, everything else should have happened to me except for being okay. So yeah, silliest, that was 100% craziest, silliest story I've ever had. Ever. Hope that satisfies the full story now.
Was that blood? Or like...
No blood externally, no. But a shit ton of blood
And
here.
it went away by itself.
Yeah, it just dissipated. So like it's just like any other bruise. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that kind of freaked me out is because I was like, fuck, I'm gonna have a ton of this blood, you know, pooled up in my side, and now I'm gonna fly home. So like, what happens when you go to 30,000 feet? Does that give me blood clots that I don't know about? You know, it kind of had me really nervous. I tried to like not think about it, and I didn't. And yeah, I mean, and as bruises do, it started to fade, and then, you know, the bruise moves down into this whole region, and it gets really uncomfortable. Like, you can't sit right because all this is all puffy and black. So, yeah, sure enough, took probably 2 weeks for it to all completely fade away. faded right away. I'm back to normal. There's no lump here on this side of me anymore. Everything's fine. No soreness, no disformities. Strange. So stay fit and drink your chocolate milk, I guess. That's all I got. Yeah. And then my camera was okay.
Why is photography important to you?
Oh, this one was kind of, this was that lightning, like I had like a clicking moment there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason it's basically the most important to me is because like from the time I was like 13 until like like last year, I've been an IT guy, computer guy, very technical, like to troubleshoot, all that stuff. So like very technical, analytical, ones and zeros. But I've been creating wallpapers and like I don't know, fucking with photos and making wallpapers in Paint Shop Pro before I even knew about Photoshop, and maybe even before Photoshop even existed, not to flex, but like I was Paint Shop Pro guy for a long time, and then I heard about Photoshop and it was like too technical for me when it came out, so I stuck to what I knew, and then finally I moved to Photoshop. And yeah, I used to make like space wallpapers in Paint Shop. It was like a planet and like a moon, and I would put that on a floppy disk, and take it to my computer, because my computer at the time wasn't fast enough. So I would make it on my parents' computer, take it to my computer on a floppy disk, pop it in, and make it my wallpaper. So yeah, and then I used to find photos of like models modeling online. This is so strange to even talk back on, but yeah, I literally have photos for where I was taking photos I found of models online, editing them and like putting these like crazy swirls around them and like changing the colors and shit, because I love Photoshop, I loved editing. But I never considered the fact of like making my own photos to edit. Never even thought about that. I even created a Photoshop course, which was literally editing like photos I found online, like stock images or whatever. And I was just editing that. And I spent like fucking a whole month making a virtual not online, but like a virtual video course of me screen recording, showing you how to use like liquify and clone stamp and all this shit, how to select and rotate and crop and resize, which is so fucking weird to say as a photographer now, because I still didn't care about photography, didn't think about making my own photos. I just wanted high resolution images. So okay, all that aside, that's the technical aspect of me, but the point is I've always had this creative like need that I had to fill. So I used to draw all the time. I even used to do like graffiti back in the day in high school and stuff. So I've always been very creative. And so there's your duality, right? And physically, I feel like this side of my brain has always been the technical side, whether that's scientifically true or not, who knows, but people know, but not me. Anyway, the way it feels is this is all technical, computer analytical, and then all this is just like, just a fucking hurricane of like creativity and chaos, So like, here I go getting emotional about some silly shit. But where it all came in to focus, ironically, for me was I've always had a really weird thing with photographers. Like if you called yourself a photographer, I was like, holy shit, like you are on some level that I'll never understand. Maybe it's because I worked with high resolution images for so long, but yeah, I was always like, I always put them on a really big pedestal. And then long story short, I moved to Colorado, and then as an IT guy, I moved to Colorado to find myself and whatever, and just work on myself, because I'd been through bad relationships from high school till fucking forever. So last relationship kind of went to shit after 6 years, and that was the time I was like, as we say, break the pattern, right? So I broke the pattern by saying, it's way too late in life, so I don't want to repeat this and go fucking find another girlfriend and do the long-term relationship, and do we get married, do we have kids? Like, I need to figure this out first. So I was like, but I didn't want to do it because it was going to be a lot of pain, so whatever. So anyway, uprooted, moved to Colorado all by myself, no friends, no family, no contacts out there, no nothing. But I loved mountains and I loved Colorado, so once I got out there, I started immediately hiking, exploring, and checking out everything. But then, like, you instinctively want to capture it, So I had a Rebel SL2, Canon Rebel SL2. I bought for $400 for my company that I used to run, my t-shirt company. And I was just for product photos. I left the bitch on auto the whole time, right? Like, like shame on me, I guess. But yeah, I was like, I just need a cool camera that would take nice photos and not an iPhone. But I was taking iPhone photos in Colorado a lot. And you can even, like, you can go back on my story and you'll see phone reels of me showing, like, reels of me taking photos with my phone. And then I was like, oh, you fucking idiot, dude. You got a nice camera. And so I was taking the camera out. And ironically, there was like some girl I was trying to impress on Instagram. So I was like, she's going to be super fucking, she was a photographer, right? And she was taking like landscapes. So I took my little DSLR out there and I was like trying to make the shots and I was posting them on my Instagram to see if maybe I could get her attention. And didn't work, by the way. But in that process, first off, I knew that auto wasn't I knew enough about photography. Like I dabbled enough with high resolution images to know that RAWs were a good thing and manual was a good thing. But I didn't know how to use manual. So literally what I framed up my thing and I would play with aperture, shutter, and like ISO just randomly until that little EV meter hit 0. And that was it. If I can get all of the three combinations, didn't know what they did. Swear to God, didn't know what they did. But I knew that I had to make that little EV meter dead in the middle because then I'd have a properly exposed image. So I was doing that for a while. But then obviously you start getting weird images that you don't really like so much. And you're like, what the fuck? All right, so now I really got to learn. But there was a moment, and I honestly don't even remember when it happened, but it was like, what the fuck have I been doing? I just talked about all my life that I have a technical and a creative side, and then like you pick up this little bitch, and then what is it? It's a computer. I mean, mirrorless cameras, DSLRs, they're a computer now, right? So I get the computer side of it, and it creates high resolution images. It's like you fucking unlock the door to like my full brain, you know? It's like my full potential's there. I'm like, what have I been doing in my life? And so if you put it like that, what does photography mean to me? Like, there you go. Everything, right? It just puts both of my I don't have to separate the technical versus the creative anymore. It's like I can do exactly what I want to do. And it like fulfills the shit out of me. So let me just get that off. So yeah, that's what it means. It's dope. Fulfilled. That's what I mean. Literally, it feels like that key just, it's like almost like there's a door between both sides of your brain and it just opens a door so that they can work together to do the same shit. Not that I have to spend 20 years of my fucking life. Whoa, you fucker. You fucker. Yeah, I don't have to spend 20 years of my life working on fucking computers and then, like, when I'm done, go edit photos at night. Now I can spend, like, all my time making dope images with dope people. Fuck. I'm doing it. I said I wouldn't. I'm going to drink something.
So basically you started with landscapes.
Street and landscapes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, once I figured it, like, because I saw the fucking dope reels on Instagram of photographers doing dope shit, and I'm like, okay, well, I have a camera, and I'm really creative now, or have always been, and I really want to make that type of shit. How do I make that type of shit? And I remember there was like a photo where like some dude put his face next to a TV, and took a shot. It was like a fucking close-up shot of his, his eyeball against the TV. And then I was like, I want to make that shot. And then I read something where he said, you can't do this shot without this lens. And I'm like, well, fuck, I better buy this lens. It's only like $120 something. So I bought this. And here's the funny part. Totally lucked out because it was like a 1.8 35 mil, I think. Yeah, right? There you go, buddy. Yeah, that's JC's shit right there. So I bought, and I didn't know what any of it meant. I just knew that he said it had to be 1.8, and I didn't know what aperture was, right? I just knew he said had to be this lens, 1.8, and you can take the shot. And I can show this shot because I have it. But yeah, I did it. I fucking did it. And I was like, oh my God, I can do it. So then, yeah, and now I had a high resolution image to play with. I forgot what the question was or whatever, but.
You started with landscape and...
Yeah.
So how did you end up in model photography then?
I'm a people person.
Mm-hmm.
So once I learned to use my camera, I always say that like my passion's photography. Oh, it's hard to get this out. my passion's photography and my purpose is people. So, god damn it. I hate this. It's so hard. It's not hard, but it's like hard to talk through it because I am passionate about it. Where did it come from? Okay, so street stuff. I was shooting street stuff on an 85. This is my first lens, 85 millimeters. So like you can only get so many street shots, and then this will be good. This is like another way of how I got my first photo shoot. So my first photo shoot was with a chick I met on Tinder. And yeah, so like we were talking on Tinder. Like this is when I moved to Colorado and I was like kind of desperate, right? I'm super lonely now because I came out here, but like I need, I was like looking for that dating, that girlfriend thing. It's like just falling back into bad habits, and I never tried Tinder before because I didn't have a reason to. I was always in a relationship. So I tried it, found this really dope chick with a lot of tattoos. And so we talked for a little bit and then kind of realized it wasn't going to work out. Like, I don't know I know she said it to me first that it wasn't really going to be a thing. And I'm like, I got you. We're cool. I was like, I'm still attracted to you, but whatever, we're good. And, but we stayed friends. We were sending memes back and forth every day. So then like I started using my camera on the side and, so then I finally got up and I was like, hey, do you want to do a photo shoot with me one time? Because now I feel like I'm capable of at least trying. So yeah, then sure enough, and I took her to the same spot so when I first got to Colorado, I call it my special spot. But I spent like, that was probably loud. I just got to cut this out. I spent like 4 hours in this spot when I first moved to Colorado. So I was like, at least I know a spot, like a good location, right? So got the spot, got a model, and sure enough, we just went out there and I shot her in front of her car, took her out to my spot, did portraits, and that's kind of where I realized that you really see who the person is when you take that shot. Like no portraits, I'm a portrait guy, right? People, but yeah, it's like crazy. You just get to pull out whoever that person is. And I see it. Fuck. God damn it. Break it. So yeah, she was my first model. It was really it was such a cool experience, really, And I shot her at my 85, which that's why 85 is my favorite lens, kind of like it's my first love almost. And then what's cool is there's how I got my first model. I just asked the question, and then so I posted that on Instagram, and then ironically enough, like maybe a few weeks later, the first like actual model who called herself a model hit me up and asked me to shoot, and I'm like, this is a whole new world for me, but yeah, let's do it. Turns out that was one of the best shoots I've ever had. It was so fucking cool. Like we met up at this coffee shop, and it was downtown Denver, and this was I was even playing with concepts. So like I was like, she was sitting inside the coffee shop drinking coffee. Have these shots too. They were like all the way at the bottom of my Instagram. And I was like taking my glass cleaner and like throwing it on the wall, on the window, and I was going outside and shooting like a rainy day, yeah, right? So which was crazy, man. I was actually storytelling back then. So what I wanted to replicate was like, it was a really sunny, bright day outside, but I was like, if I put her inside drinking coffee, looking out the window, and I just spread a bunch of water on the glass, and then I manually focus on her, it'll be a 6 shot. Sure enough, it was dope as fuck. So that was like really like confident building, that not only did a model reach out to me to want to shoot, but then the shots I took were dope as fuck. Even by like today's, like my standard now, I still think those shots were dope as fuck. So yeah, super fun. That's like my first, that's how I got into all of it, shooting models, right? And then, so it was easy for me to shoot with people. And then I was also running around with another couple that I met through a mutual friend. And so it was like the three of us were like a little photography team, which they ended up fucking me over really hard in the end. They live rent-free in my head now. Another story for a later time. But yeah, so what ended up happening is they had gone to a previous Paradise Challenge in Dubai. And they took a bunch of dope shots. And since we were hanging out together, I was kind of learning from them a little bit. And I considered they have my little buddies, right? They're like my little creative buddies now that I could, talk photography with, because not everybody wants to sit down and talk, photography and how to take a cool shot. So they had been going to Dubai for Paradise Challenge, and they were going to go to Puerto Vallarta, and they invited me, and I got to use their little $100 discount code. And just the concept was dope because I didn't travel much. So I was like, opportunity to use my camera for a week, travel to Mexico, which I've been a couple times, so I'm comfortable with Mexico a little bit. And then yeah, I went out there and had like a fucking blast. I loved it. And then, but the funny thing was, and I will say this because this was fun because I'm super naive about shit, and I just wanted to shoot what I wanted to shoot. Didn't even know what I was shooting. So I spent a lot of money on my 35 millimeter lens because I only had an 85 at the time. But I was like, if I'm gonna get any good shots, I need a 35 at least. So I was like, I need this lens and my 85. So I go out there and I start. So the concept is out there, you just, if you see a model, hey, do you want to do a photo shoot real quick, or do you want to schedule one if you got time, whatever. And they say yes or no, but most of them all say yes. Like the vibe out there is like you can't say no unless it's a good reason to say no. Like if I asked a model if I was like, hey, you want to shoot with me? She can't be like, oh, I don't like your, she can't say no because she doesn't like your work or your vibe or whatever. But if she has another scheduled shoot, that makes sense, you can't shoot. But yeah, it's basically don't just deny everybody. So it was a good opportunity for me as like a brand new person, like a photographer, to get, and I was in front of some really fucking popular models. They had like 200,000 followers on Instagram, and I was like, oh. But what the funny part is like, I was so naive because it was like mostly swimsuit stuff, like naked stuff, and all this other nude party, swimsuit, all this crazy vibes out there. But this guy, what I was doing, I was literally shooting portraits with a prism the whole fucking time. That's it. All my shots were like chest up, maybe waist up, and almost 90% all had a prism in front of them, which was like a little, I loved the way that the prism looked, and it made me not look as bad of a photographer because I still didn't know exactly what the fuck I was doing. So like and I even did it on my story, I was like, you compare all the shots I was taking in Puerto Vallarta versus like what everybody else was taking, which is like that standard swimsuit look. I was like, I guess I'm not that guy or whatever, but like I still loved what I was doing. It was like, and then the cool thing too is like a lot of models did dig what I was doing because it was way different than most people. Like I was putting models in my shower and spraying water all over the shower and get my fairy lights up and still using my prism with all these multicolored pinks and all that bullshit, because that's like my vibe, right? Like colors and whatever. And then one night I walked through the lobby and I saw these two fucking Belgian dudes just sitting there talking to each other, but they had Canon cameras and they just looked like dope dudes, and I'm not afraid to talk to damn near anybody. So I literally sat down and talked to JC and Jonah for like maybe an hour. We talked about Canons and this, that, and then they said, the thing is I don't remember you saying that you were even on a Vagabond vacation, but you said that you're running Vagabond vacations. And after you explained that it's like a smaller version, like up to 10 people, very tight group of people, that's when I was like, I told him literally that night, I was like, I'm coming on one, for sure, I'll be there. And then the other ironic thing about that is one of the models I decided to pull aside like a couple days earlier was Lesia. Find Foxy, So she was sitting there. I thought she'd be perfect for this purple plant that I saw earlier. And then so she had like a cool vibe, So I actually, and she didn't even speak a lot of English, but I remember she was very shy, but I was like, hey, would you like to model for me for a minute, And she was standing next to JC and Jonah, and I didn't really ignore them, but I just was like, I really would like to shoot her in this purple plant that I've been looking at all fucking day. Got those shots too, bottom of my Instagram. So yeah, it was a couple days before I even met JC and Jonah, then had this cool conversation. They said they ran Vagabond vacations. And then and I was like, yeah, I'll fucking definitely go on one of those. And then so I came back from Paradise Challenge and then went through like, months and months of like pain, depression, more photography, got to get better at photography. Don't know what I'm doing in my life, but I really like photography. And then one point I was like, I got to go on another vacation. I have to. But I don't know where. I was going to go to Ireland. I was going to go to Iceland by myself. All these were like by myself. And then I wanted to go to Ibiza, but Paradise Challenge had already done one in Ibiza. And so I spent like a week thinking about what I'm going to do. And then I was like, oh yeah, the Vagabond guys, like what are they up to? And I didn't even remember the website. I just went to JC's profile and clicked on his fucking website. And then sure as shit, bro, they said they were going to Ibiza. And I'm like, oh, well, there you go. So yes, didn't even think twice. I was like, that's perfectly. So I get to hang out with the dope dudes with cameras that I met earlier. I get to go to Ibiza because I wanted to go to Ibiza, but I already missed that boat with the Paradise Challenge thing. And yeah, I don't even, I mean, I did the website. I don't even know how it really worked out. I just did how you normally sign up for Vagabond. And then it was crazy because I got to Ibiza, but I was like I was a day late. Yeah, I was a whole fucking day late getting there because my plane got delayed and I had to like stay in Chicago for a night or whatever. And then I never forget it, and I don't think anybody remembered, but so they were already day 2, Vagabond vacation. They were on site. I'm messaging the group like, hey, I just showed up. And they're like, okay, we're right here, but you'll have to take a taxi. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I leave the airport in a taxi, drive all the way to this thing. And it got even sketchier because the taxi guy would only take me to this trail. And I didn't even know if they were literally out there. So I was like, okay, gracias. And then fucking I had my carry-on duffel, that big, not carry-on, but the checked-in duffel on my back with my camera bag. And I'm hiking it like fucking down this road. And I turn this corner and I kind of see like maybe this is them. And then I finally see like one of the models. I don't remember who it was. Saw one of the models and then I saw JC and I was like, okay, I'm here. Like I found him. And then that was what was cool is like only JC, I think he turns around and he goes, the last Vagabond is here. I'll never forget that shit. That was so dope. And so yeah, and it was crazy because I was fucking jet lagged. I was tired as fuck. I'd been hiking. I was stressed. But I like threw all my shit down, pulled out my camera, and like in 5 minutes I was shooting with I was Baby Nicole. Yeah, I was shooting with her. And then but the best part about it is it was so comfortable. It was emotional, but it was literally like it was like I was home, you know. Like it was almost with the Paradise Challenge vibe. It was like, yeah, I'm in an uncomfortable place, but I can still manage. But when I like rocked up to all these guys and girls and it was like. It was so welcoming. It was so like I felt so comfortable. And then like literally the next day in Ibiza, like at the villa and all that shit, you know, whatever. Rest is history, as they say, I guess. But you know, that's how I got into shooting models, and I just like it because I love people, you know. Fuck. And we're gonna take a drink. Next question.
How is Vagabond
How is Vagabond
different for you? And what is it for you? What does it fulfill for you, or what does it mean for you? Or
that's gonna make me cry again. Let's see. Simply put, it's like kind of like JC said. He's always looking for, you know, like the family. Like family's not always blood, you know. And I've always, not that I've felt like uncomfortable with my family, but I come from a bit of a broken home, and it's like I don't know. It's a hard thing to explain when you meet people that like instantly get your vibe, you know. 1 second. So yeah, it's weird to have that feeling, and then like I felt it more in Ibiza than ever, and I like got a taste of it when I was talking with JC and Jonah at first, and I was like, oh yeah, those are super dope guys, and then like the Vagabond experience is more than just surrounding you by a bunch of fucking already established models who don't give really a shit about who you are. They're there for content, you're there for content. You know, let's go shoot nude stuff on the beach. Let's shoot swimsuit here. We got 5 looks here, and you know this, and this, and what's your Instagram? Okay, well, blah blah blah. And then you know you do that with however many models you do it, like say something like a Paradise Challenge. And then you leave that experience. They don't really give a shit. I'm not in the most respectful way possible. It's like the models don't really care too much about you anymore, and conversely, you don't really give shit about the model. You're like, I got cool pictures of a hot chick, and I would say even beautiful chick, because I'm not really into the whole like super sexy hot thing. But yeah, when I got on with Vagabonds, like you get this vibe where it's like everybody cares about each other, and it's like you get it's a family thing, so it's way more condensed, and you spend a week with anybody, right? You're gonna get to know that person whether you love them or hate them. But then you compound that with people who like understand your vibe and come from the same kind of background. It's super dope. And then the models are the same way. Like the models at Vagabonds are typically the people that we typically work with at Vagabond. They got the same kind of vibe. You know, not every model's, you know, what you think they are. You know, they're just normal people. So like on a human basis, like a human element, I really dig that. And then but then on top of that, so you have your baseline. That's where like at Vagabond core is. But then you go like a couple steps above that. It's just so much fun to create dope shit. You get like I've always tell people, it's like you know, you take a fucking Alice, you're some model, and you put her in the middle of fucking Iceland in a bodysuit and this leather jacket. When does that just doesn't happen unless we make it happen? Guaranteed. You know, 99 to 100% of the time, you're not ever gonna see just that. Basically just never organically happens. You know, and I think that's so fucking cool and like such a creative way to do stuff. Going back, it's like a rebellious type of thing, right? Like, it's not that I don't like standard shots and standard places, because those are fun too and all, but like, man, it's so fucking crazy when you take these models and you put them in such a peculiar situation, like hanging out the side of a cliff in Iceland, and then you put them in a fucking lingerie or nude or whatever. That shit doesn't happen, and everybody's on the same page. There's no fucking, it's not awkward. It's like we're all there to fucking make dope shit with dope people. I mean, it's dope as fuck, and you do it all over the world. Like, yeah, you can go as deep with Vagabond as you want, or as high level with Vagabond. Like, even if that's not your vibe and it's just something you wanted to experience, come to a Vagabond vacation and fuck around a little bit, find out. Maybe it's something you like, and then maybe you find family, you know? So, yeah, and then it's so easy. It's like, for me, it's a no-brainer, and I get mega passionate about it. I can't stop fucking crying. I hate it. Whoever watches this is going to get a fucking treat, that's for sure. Especially people who know me and then see me act like this, because yeah, they don't just see me normally act like this. Even you fuckers.
Still love you though.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't do this for anybody. I'd rather just fucking sit in my room and cry to myself, not fucking let it all out here. Shit, it's like a therapy session. I wanted to get this out eventually, but fuck, it's rough. JC's laughing on the floor. It's fucked, man. But yeah, it's like, you know, like, and I represent that shit with my body too. And it's weird. It's like Vagabonds turn into this thing. It's like, yeah. And like I was talking about the creative side, like I wanted to put this, like get this out there too. But it's like all this side of my body is like creativity, chaos, all these fucking bracelets everywhere I've been. I got a hand tattoo. I got the Vagabond tattoo. That's like huge for me. Huge. It was, and like, it was huge for me. But the crazy thing about it is I didn't think twice. In fact, like I kind of don't like how I got it, but I think it was when I got back from Ibiza. Because it was. It was when I got back from, damn, it was that strong. So I took one Vagabond trip, and within the first week that I got back, I was like hungry I remember I went to one tattoo shop, and they're like, I go, can you just get this in real quick? I just need it right now. And they're like, oh, well, we can get you in like tomorrow or something like that if you want to just send. I'm like, all right, I'll go. All right, we'll talk. And then I just like left and went to another, shop and found a guy who would do it. And this guy was like kind of weird. And like, I mean, I even had it's like first time I had weird vibes about my guy who's had my tattoo. But I'm like, literally, you can't fuck this up. You can't. And it's been dubbed the cutest Vagabond tattoo. It's not as, it's what is it, sans serif versus serif font almost. So it's a little bit softer and cuter than other ones. So, at first I had plans to expand on it and make it proper, like, JC's or whatever. But then after I heard JC's story, it was like I was at a fucking event and I just got it done in a tent or some shit. And he's like, it's all fucked up. And he showed me. I was like, all right, mine's fine. Mine's unique. It's good enough. So I fucking left it there. Yeah, but it's like, but that's the crazy thing, dude. It's like a hand tattoo, right? I'm like, what the fuck? What am I doing? And especially that was really funny. I got super high like a couple days later. I was like, what did I do? I got a hand, but again, I don't give a fuck. And then ironically, I said I got a hand tattoo while also having a full sleeve down my wrist, whatever. Stupid. And then, and then like instinctively, I wanted to get one right here. So I got my little quotes that carry me along and help me out. Got those in Bali, by the way, which is dope. Bali. Yeah, and then one tattoo here, just one. Because this is controlled and simple on this side of my brain, and all that hurricane bullshit on this side. But it's like this, I like to camp, so like simple life, just very simple. Very. No more tattoos on this side of my body, and then whatever happens on this, I'm afraid of almost, but I'm looking forward to it as well. Because I know that's not the end of the right side of my story, body with tattoos, whatever. So, still don't remember the question you asked me, but that's my answer.
You answered it.
I hope. Fuck. Anything else you want to fucking make me cry about?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I need to go blow
Let's
my nose.
wrap it up here.
Please do.